Welcome to episode 268 of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel, Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today, talking about Trubisky and Nick Foles. I wanted to talk about this topic, thought I was going to mix in some Q&A, but apparently nobody wants a free jersey, so that's fine. That's cool with me. I saved some extra money. Maybe I'll buy myself a jersey. But anyway, if people just want to listen to the regular episodes and not engage in other ways, that's fine. As long as you watch the content, that's good enough for me. So anyway, jumping into this. So people have been talking a lot about Trubisky coming back in, blah, blah, blah. There's been reports that he hurt his shoulder, blah, blah, blah. But in general, people have been talking, even when he got pulled out, about Trubisky being the better option. Now, personally, I would say there's a good amount, I'm not going to say everybody, but a good amount of people who were just Trubisky apologists. And once he got pulled out, they were waiting for some type of reason to say that Foles should be benched and Trubisky could go back in. That those people exist. There are some people that were okay with the move. They saw Foles and they said, nah, that's not for me. I think we should go back. And, you know, so there's different opinions out there. Not saying everybody's the same, but as typical with fans, I mean, I deal with Bears fans, but fans in general can be silly. But Bears fans, typical for us, there's a lot of infighting. Like, there's people that I've seen call me and other people Foles apologists or Foles fanboys, and it's just, it blows my mind. It makes no sense. But looking at how our country is with everything else, maybe it does make sense. People just can't stand to hear somebody disagree with them. But anyway, there's people that are calling for Trubisky to go back in. And I just don't understand it. I don't. If you hear somebody say, I don't think Trubisky is as good as Foles, and that for you makes them an apologist or a fanboy or a Mitch hater, then that's on you. That's your own problem. I think you need to figure out how to be a little more mature and take in information, because just to say that Foles is the better option for us isn't to say that Foles is a great quarterback. Because there's some people like, oh, are you kidding me? Look at this numbers and look at what he did and look at what he did. Like, okay, again, that doesn't have to mean Foles is a great quarterback. Doesn't mean he have to be a good quarterback. It just simply means that we think he's a better fit than Trubisky is for what we're doing. And vice versa. For those that would say that Trubisky might be a better fit, isn't to say that Trubisky is a better quarterback, even though some make that argument. That's not what everybody's saying. And so that's fair. That conversation could be had. But for me, you know, I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to other opinions. I have no problem with that. I don't crumble at people disagreeing. But my question is always going to be, okay, well, what makes you stand on that? What are you standing on to say that? And to me, the conversations I've had just don't make any sense. I wouldn't say but the first thing that people bring up is the offensive line isn't good and Foles is not mobile. Therefore, if we had Trubisky, who was more mobile, we would be better on offense. In which I would like to point you to the last 3 years of the Bears. I don't really understand that argument. I don't. Because, yes, I guess on paper, it makes sense. Trubisky is more mobile, and he's going to be able to extend the play more so than Foles. Does that then equal to him being able to make plays? No, it does not. Trubisky's arm is stronger than Foles. Trubisky's arm is stronger than a lot of quarterbacks that are starting. Does that make him a better quarterback? It does not. Does it make him a better fit for those teams? It does not. And so the mobility part is true, but it doesn't matter if you don't use it. It reminds me of last year, this long, boring argument of Nagy won't let Trubisky run. Nagy stopping Trubisky from running. What are you talking about? Trubisky was never Lamar Jackson. Trubisky was not a wild card quarterback. He isn't Taysom Hill. Trubisky's mobility in those early years was from him scrambling. And so if he chooses not to scramble, then he won't pick up yards rushing. And so I don't know if people are just not connecting the dots or if they're just too overwhelmed to think clearly, but Nagy doesn't control Trubisky's scrambling. That was on Trubisky. And then later on, he had a shoulder injury. And then everybody's like, oh, well, what do you expect? He had a shoulder injury. Why are you letting him do this and that? But yet you were mad that he wasn't running the ball either. Doesn't make sense. Either way, when you talk about Trubisky as a pure runner, like a quarterback design runs, we already saw what he did against the Rams, nothing. And that was a bad read, by the way. That's not his game. It's not. He can pick up stuff to extend plays, to run, yes, but that's not his game as a quarterback design runner. And so when we're talking about Trubisky coming in versus Foles, it doesn't really matter that much if he's not going to do it. And then on top of that, you've seen in this season, you've seen him play. So I don't know what dynamic performances people watched that I missed. But last I checked, I covered the film pretty thoroughly the last few years, and Trubisky is what he's been. Now, if you want to have that conversation about the factors holding him back, which I don't put a whole lot of credence into either, but if you want to have that conversation, you can. But that hasn't changed. This isn't a different team. It's still Matt Nagy. It's still the play calls. It's still the same playbook. It's still the same offensive line. It's still the same run game. So what exactly do you think is about to be different? And again, I guess I didn't mention this, but obviously we could go to the numbers. People want to go through the numbers, and I've told you 1,000 times, numbers are only part of the story. Only a little part of the story. And so as somebody that can look at numbers and then also look at the film to tell you what's happening, again, show me what you're talking about that was so different, because I don't see it. Now, what I do see, which is what I literally said at the moment we traded for Foles, is that the positives you get is that Foles is going to make a decision. He's going to make it quickly, sometimes to the detriment, sometimes not. But he's going to make a quick decision, and he's going to process that information faster than Trubisky has shown to be able to do. On top of that, Foles is going to stay in the pocket. Another counterpart to that mobility piece, as I've either typed out or talked about before, is that that's not sustainable. That's not how you sustain drives. That's not how you win games with big offense. Big offense comes when you're able to make plays in the pocket. And when I mean big offense, I don't mean blowing out a suspect team. I mean when you are against your toughest test, you have to make plays in the pocket. If you haven't watched, first of all, if you're not in the film, then be a better Bears fan. But if you haven't watched, I did the breakdown of Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And again, by far one of, if not the best, top 3 defenses last year. Extreme pressure, which is the quickest way to really mess up a quarterback. So a tough test for Mahomes. And the reason he was able to be effective and to come from behind and make plays is because of his ability to do it from the pocket. And so I've always said that, like the Aaron Rodgers stuff, moving around, and like Mahomes does it to an extent, but a lot of young quarterbacks just overdo it. Extending the play stuff, that's cute. That backyard football stuff is cute, and it could get you something, but it's not sustainable. That's not what beats the big test. And so for people to act like, A, Trubisky even did that when he was in, but then to act like, B, that's somehow better, it's just not true. It's simply not true. And so being able to stay in the pocket and still deliver a throw and be decisive is important. I mean, there's a couple big plays we had in the last few weeks. I've shown you that, again, it was right at the moment. And so Trubisky has shown with trash around him, with his throw being affected, his accuracy's way off. He's shown with no effect around the pocket in a clean pocket that his accuracy can be off. So when he's been hit or you facing down pressure, his throws are way off. And so I think while Foles definitely misses, he doesn't miss as much. And then, like I said, the decisiveness. And I think all those mean something. Again, overall, with the way we run, some of the play calling we do, some of the drops we have, all the issues we have, no quarterback's going to be great. And I don't think either of these quarterbacks are great. But we're just talking about what is happening with our team. So it's not Foles versus every quarterback in the league. We're talking about Foles and Trubisky. So is Foles great? No, he's average. But he's better than Trubisky. And that's the only thing that matters when we're talking about. I keep seeing them, they bring out arguments that are red herrings, have nothing to do with it. Oh, did you see his numbers? Such and such is throwing this and such is doing this. And how can you say, when those people aren't on our teams? We're talking about Foles versus Trubisky. And so, once again, that is where I stand on it. And I feel definitely strong about it. Now, one thing I said early is that we would see Trubisky be more of a goal line red zone type user for some of these gadgets. And we saw the one play against the Rams, again, wasn't great. Apparently he got hurt. So they haven't done that as much as I thought they would. And maybe they still might do it later. But overall, just no. I mean, It hasn't worked out, and they're going forward, and they believe Foles gives them the best chance, and I do too. So, I mean, it's not a whole lot more to say, because people that deny that, at this point, honestly, I feel like they're just being ignorant. Like, there's nothing that they are really standing on as far as evidence that would tell you any different. Like, they might pull out a random stat here or there, especially when they compare it to Trubisky's 2 games. If you stretch out more games, the numbers are going to be skewed. But anyway, when they pull out a random number here or there, and it in context doesn't mean a whole bunch, especially when you look at the overall body of work of what Trubisky did. And so he's had plenty of snaps. He has plenty of games. And they're saying put him in like we got something brand new going on. And it's like, now it's going to work this time. If it didn't work before, why would it work now? So anyway, go to the comment section. Let me know what you think. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.